We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.
All right, guys, it is 5 minutes past 11 a.m. A very good morning. Welcome to the Midday Show. My name is Ify. And of course, it is another beautiful Friday. We usually start with an absolute bang. I'm talking about the People's Perspective, that show where we begin to dissect different topical and pertinent topics and issues affecting you as a Nigerian citizen and as a global citizen. We see things from your perspective. And of course, I'm here in the studio with my unequivocal co-host, Seun Kuti.
Country people, how na deal? If you have this your healing today, sweet me well well. My Instagram people who won't watch, I don't know. I can't go on live. I'm trying, so in case I've just left it there to be doing what it's doing.
Oh my
if
gosh,
clicks,
we really need you to come on live, but guys, we keep trying, and we'll also go live on Lagos Talks.
Yeah, check on Lagos Talks page
at Lagos Talks 913. That's gonna be up any moment from now. But we're just gonna get into the show for today. We have a few things that we would like to touch on.
Before we touch, there's somebody in Instagram Nigeria that doesn't like me. Whoever you are, let's meet at Shrine on Sunday. Let me buy you 2 beer.
I like that.
Let's let bygones be bygones. Let the people's perspective be free.
Oh my goodness, they will never succeed.
There's nothing they've not done to this by people's perspective.
Nah, real wow.
You see, I think they've blocked us from live. Let's see, we'll keep trying.
Alright, but I mean, till it works, which I hope it does work. We are right here live on Lagos Talks. And so yes, we can still have that conversation, and you listening, you can get to join the conversation via our phone lines, via our WhatsApp line, via our Twitter handle at Lagos Talks 913. If you want to send a tweet, please ensure you are using the hashtag The People's Perspective. That is the only way we can read out your tweet. So ensure that you're using that particular hashtag. Guys, we're going to be speaking about the NSARS protest aftermath. Talking about what's going on with the frontliners and with Amnesty International as well, giving us, publishing an article, giving us a play-by-play on what happened on the 20th of October 2020 with innocent protesters being shot at. And then we're going to also talk about what's going on with the US elections, the presidential elections. This is history in the making. We're going to focus on how it affects Africa, particularly Nigeria, depending on who wins or who loses. So we're going to be touching on that. So Seun, let us get into the NSARS aftermath. So I'm just going to, put the groundwork in place for those people who may not know what is going on. Okay, so it all started when one of the frontliners, her name is Mo. She is a lawyer who actually created one of the most efficient and effective legal aid frameworks Nigeria has ever seen, especially during the NSARS campaign, which was a legal framework that assisted people that were unlawfully arrested. Now, this framework even had influence outside the borders of Nigeria, where she was able to get some Nigerians that were arrested in Egypt released, because they also tried to, carry out a protest in support of the NSARS protest that was going on in Nigeria. Now, she wanted to travel just on Sunday for her 31st birthday. She wanted to travel to the Maldives. And when she got to the airport, it seemed like her name had been flagged on the system of the Nigeria Immigration, Service, because when she had gone through, they had called her back, seizing her passport, detaining her, saying that they had orders from above that if she, was seen at the airport or trying to get out of the country, they shouldn't let her go, but they should rather detain her. Now, that's what happened. She came on social media. She let us know what went on. And till today, they haven't given her passport back. They had told her, come back with your lawyer. And she did go back with her lawyer, but they didn't give her passport back. Now, what next? A media outlet, came out with a story about a no-fly list, saying that the Nigerian government has curated a no-fly list of the frontliners of the NSARS campaign, saying that they would not be able to leave Nigeria, is what the media outlet
said. Is my
said.
name on the... Wait, I'm not on the front line. Continue.
So that list was released. Well, they said that there was a list, But then later on, the Ministry of Interior actually released an official statement debunking that, saying that it is extremely false. Not only that, sending a letter to this media outlet to retract their statement. If not, they should be ready to face legal action, is what they said. Now, I'm just going to read out what the Nigeria Immigration Service is saying as well, because a follow-up to, questions that have been surrounding the reason why, this girl, who's a lawyer as well, Mo, who was stopped from leaving the country and her passport seized. People started, blaming the Nigerian Immigration Service as well, saying that the reason why they are doing it is because of her participation in the NSAS protest. Now, the Nigerian Immigration Service released a statement. Mr. Sunday James, who's the spokesman for the NIS, he said, and I quote, "When there is a directive from any agency of government, not specific, we have to enforce either entry or restriction of entry by anybody who has been directed not to be allowed exit or entry. And as a matter of fact, we cannot, as a border management agency, allow anybody who has been restricted from leaving the country to go out, and we cannot allow anybody who has been restricted from entry to enter." So it is a routine assignment, and it has nothing to do with NSAS. We are the lead agency for the security management of the border. It has to do with the restriction order, which we are duty bound to enforce. Now that happened, they came out with a statement saying, listen, this is just a routine order. It has nothing to do with NSAS. Before we dissect this, I just want us to touch on the bank account restrictions as well, because some parties who are involved in giving support to the NSAS protest have actually come out as well, like the Feminist Coalition, as well as some other individuals who've come out to say that the banks that they were using to garner funds to support the NSAS protest were restricted, and they haven't had access to their accounts ever since. And so there is even one particular organization, it's one public affairs company, that has actually sued a particular Nigerian bank for restricting their account and for stopping them from having access to their account. So they've actually sued that Nigerian bank. Now, these are some of the things that have happened after the NSAS protest. Now we're going to dissect this. We're going to get into this. Seun, do you believe? We're going to start off with the no-fly list and all that was coming out, and then the Ministry of Interior came out and said, oh no, that's not what happened. Do you actually believe that there's a possibility that there is indeed a no-fly list where, some of the frontliners like Mo have been flagged?
Probably. I mean, it's not something our government hasn't done before. I mean, if people remember, my grandmother had her passport seized as well during her struggle against the military government and their illegitimate taxation scheme back in the day, and also, when she was fighting for women's suffrage, here in Nigeria. It was one of their tactics then to always take her passport and deny her the ability to fly, and she was also a former socialist. So they used to say, because they didn't want her to go and meet with communists, to go and make Nigeria a socialist country. You know what I mean? So there's a track record of the Nigerian government doing this kind of thing. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think in stories like this, we need to lean more to the side of the victim than the side of the oppressor. So why are they stopping her from traveling? What is her offense?
Exactly. So do you think that this is some sort of intimidation tactic by the federal government, because she's come out to say point blank, you're doing this because I'm part of the NSAS campaign, but the government has come out and say, oh no, it has nothing to do with that. This is just due procedure. Why do you think? I
also feel is because the government has seen that the NSAS campaigners do not have the stomach for the full fight.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Feminist Coalition, almost after the curfew came out, quickly declared how much they had spent, how much they had left, and how they had abandoned the struggle. Remember, they released a statement to say they're going to use the rest money to pay victims, and they are no longer involved in NSAS or whatever. I
mean, I don't know that they came out and said they are no longer involved in NSAS. I don't know that I came across that.
They put out a statement with the figures that they spent, the amount they made, the figure that they spent, how much was left, what they were planning to do with that. Now they are going back to focus on their core duty, as feminist coalition, which is to empower women and whatever in Nigeria. You know, so I think even in the artist group, you know, I told them, I said, every day you give the Nigerian government to regroup is a day for them to consolidate strategy and lies, because that is their tactics. You know, every day we don't put pressure is a day for them to continue. How would I put it? Continue to manipulate the situation. You know, so for me, I think we are learning. As I said, not a lot of us have been doing this for a long time. We are learning. We are trying to be what we need to be for this country.
Yes.
So definitely mistakes should be made. But now that we've learned, we've known that the Nigerian government is not the kind of organization, because they're not really a government. You know, the politicians in Nigeria, they're more of a organization, or, you know, more of a board. You know, they see Nigeria as a company, and they are the board of directors. Some of them, you know, one of them is the CEO. Everybody sees, that's how they see themselves and position themselves. They don't see themselves as public servants running a country. In fact, their egos are too big for them to see themselves as public servants. So when we do this, what they see is that, oh, there's turmoil on the factory floor. The workers are agitating. You know, so lay some of them off. You know, get the police to arrest some of them, whip them back into line. You know, so that is their mindset, and we have to understand that no matter what it is that we want to do, we have to be there for the long haul. We have to be there to see it through to the end. You know, else they're going to, if we let off, they're going to drag us back 10 steps, you know, from where we were before.
Yeah.
And what we've done now is that we are relenting. We are not moving the statement forward. Many people are basically working with the government now on panels, you know, telling the accused to investigate himself, you know, and validating that process. You understand? And many of our favorites are endorsing these panels, watching the panel, like as if anything great can come out from the accused investigating himself. You understand?
We do know that with these people that have been putting a formal complaint out to the a panel of inquiry, like Mo, for instance, who was involved in creating that legal framework, had also put out information about people that need legal backing, some sort of legal backing. So how differently do you think they should have carried out this 8-man panel that they created for, you know, the victims of police brutality?
First of all, we demanded to know what happened in Lekki. And as you can see, the panel is doing its best to make sure that what happened in Lekki is never known. You know, because that panel should never have been convened without the clear picture. This is what I told everybody in the group when they said who is putting themselves up for representation in the panel. I said, what? I said, we must not engage with this panel until we know exactly what has happened in Lekki. Then we go to the panel to discuss how to get, you know, who did it, why did they do it, who gave the order. That's what we should be discussing in the panel. But right now, everything that happened during that 2 weeks is on the panel. Even the NSAS movement is on trial at the panel.
My goodness, the NSAS movement itself.
Yes, because people are going to drop petitions that have been accepted. So if the panel did not reject the petition and they accept the petition to investigate people that were involved in the NSAS protest, then doesn't that mean that we're on trial too? You know, so both the protesters are on trial, the government is on trial, the whole thing is muddled up. You know, so first of all, it should have been if we're going to go that route, then it should have been an independent panel. You understand? That is maybe set up by a third party, maybe the African Union, maybe ECOWAS. It should be independent of the federal government of Nigeria, who we are claiming are the ones that have perpetuated the act at Lekki, the shooting at protesters, you know. And the government, to a certain extent, has still not even accepted that people died there. They've still not accepted that they were involved there. We still heard the Attorney General coming out to say hoodlums in military uniform, you know. So now we are back to unknown soldier. You know, they brought unknown order 2 weeks ago. Nobody gave the order. Now is the hoodlums wearing uniform, unknown soldier. You know, so we have experienced all these kind of things many times before, you know, from the Nigerian government. But what we should take away from this, young people, is not a defeatist mentality.
Of course.
We have really made errors going forward, and I think what we should learn is that if you want to engage your oppressor, you engage your oppressor in totality, not half and half, not after we've engaged them and we are defeating them, we suddenly now relinquish all our power to them.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, because just all throughout this week I have been following this particular story, especially with this young girl who has been stopped. Now we don't really know with this list or if there's any list whatsoever, because we can't say to all the frontliners, how about you try travel out of Nigeria to see if they're going to flag you or not, because there are people that have come out to say, well, if you started a crowdfunding that garnered funds of over 70 million, why shouldn't you be investigated, or why not? And I feel like this is also coming from the I would say a tool or an instrument by corrupt government officials to sort of divide and conquer, because there was a oneness that the NSAS...
Was she part of the people that gathered the money?
Well, they actually donated some money for them for the legal aid as well, because she had a connection with the feminist coalition as well. And so some of the things...
You know what I'm happy about this?
Yeah.
It's good that the feminist coalition is learning that it is not their say when they leave the struggle. It's something that they have to learn, and I'm happy they are learning it.
Yeah.
Maybe they are learning it the hard way. They've entered the struggle, they've gotten clout from the struggle. People have known you through the struggle, and you think it's just your decision to back down. That is not how struggle works. So I think maybe this new attack on them by the government will also strengthen their own resolve to re-engage with not just the people of Lekki or VI, but to understand that their struggle is now national.
Of course.
If the federal government is now looking at you, then, as I say to a lot of my friends, it's important to know that it's not impossible to stare at the abyss. What you have to understand that the abyss will stare back at you. So this is what we must now embrace. I mean
it is a learning curve, because a lot of these people that were part of this had never for once in their lives ever thought that it would get to a point where they're backing a protest, to a point where people actually died. So this is a learning curve for them. Like you mentioned, they don't get a say on when they get out of the struggle. The struggle does not end until that liberation takes place, and they have started the journey and they have to finish the journey whether they like it or not. But just to point out certain things, like I mentioned, from this whole story with the no-fly list or what have we, I just feel that just taking a look at what has been going on, this is
fly list. Me, I've been on no billboard list.
Billboard list
for over 50 years.
I feel like
because of my mouth.
I feel like this is a typical playbook from authoritarian governance, where you want to instill fear and intimidation to people that have dared to speak up. And I believe also that it is rather a coincidence that all these different events happened after the end, SARS protest, and the government is then saying that they know nothing about these actions that they're being accused of. I also believe that the government needs to understand that they cannot win against the people, especially a group of people that have been enlightened and educated. And I've mentioned this before, National Bureau of Statistics is saying that we have over 135 million young people, and there was a oneness in the voice of these young people, which is an end to police brutality and an end to bad governance. And when the government did see that this oneness was there, they realized that and I would say corrupt members of government, they did realize that it seemed as if their position in authority and in power was being threatened, because one weapon that they've been used to hold on to power was the divide and conquer rule that they either brought with some sort of division in ethnicity.
But it's worked, the divide and conquer work this time.
There are people that are still identifying that the government or corrupt government officials are still trying to use that to discredit the NSAS protest, hence bringing up issues like this, like a no-flight list, or questioning the reason why she's traveling outside of the country after they have come up. They've actually crowdfunded over 70-something million naira. So they are trying to use that division.
Let me tell you, the tactics they're actually using is middle class versus poor. Because we have to understand that the legitimacy of the government argument right now was also to a certain extent validated by the NSAS organizers when they too agreed that hoodlums were hijacking their protest. In this Nigeria, violence does not make anything illegitimate. Our elections are violent, doesn't make it illegitimate. You understand? People still engage with the process and accept the result at the end of the day. You understand? We do not suddenly separate ourselves from the election of the rich once their touts start destroying our neighborhoods during their rallies. You understand? So when the poor people of Nigeria stood up and expressed themselves in the way that they did, I think it was counterproductive for us to immediately jump on the government's narration of what happened, narrative of what happened. You understand? It is still the duty of the government to protect life and property.
Of course.
Right? Throughout the last week, thugs were attacking life with machete in Abuja, in Lagos, everywhere. Government did nothing. It was immediately after government announced curfew that looting started. This is the point that we should have been making. Not discussing about the violence that didn't concern. So now the government is holding on to some kind of violent protest that happened as some reason to be clamping down, for some reason that they are, what we are doing, what we did was wrong and all this. What the Nigerian people did was completely righteous. And I've said to many of my middle class and professional friends who are trying to, talk down on the poor people for lashing out, I say, first of all, they exposed the palliative. Without the poor people, in our own organized protest, we will never have found the palliative. Yes. We will never have found the palliative that these wicked people are going to hide. Right? It took the poor people of Nigeria to discover that atrocity that was happening. You know what I'm saying? So, to a certain extent, where there was a flaw was that there was a disconnect in in the organization of the protest. That we that could afford data or that could afford transport to the protest sites were those that were deemed legitimate protesters. But the poor Nigerians that didn't have data to engage, that couldn't afford to come to where we are holding this protest, didn't they have a right also, to a certain extent, to express themselves? Where we made another mistake was that we did not build that bridge to those people.
Okay, just to step in for a second. Remember that one of the wins, and I believe one of the merits that the NSAS protest brought, was that it went beyond just, especially with the Feminist Coalition and other bodies that were helping to support the protest, it went beyond just gathering people to protest against bad governance. That was a platform to reach out to people, reach out to the needs of people. Because through that protest, on that protest ground, morning, afternoon and evening, people were feeding. Yeah. People that did not come and protest, or people that probably have never seen such meals in the last 2 years or 3 years. So I believe that was a win. I believe that it might not have been as substantial or as far-reaching as it ought to have been, but it did bridge a gap, extending to people that are of the lower class who came there to feed every day.
Yeah, but what I'm saying at least is the lower class people in that neighborhood. There were millions of poor Nigerians that could not make it to those sites, is what I'm saying. And they also have a legitimate right to air their grievances against this system. So it is kind of elitist for us to sit down in our place and say, these poor people were wrong for looting. They were wrong for burning, for breaking. But I said, we cannot look at this as a sign of right, from the point of view of right or wrong. It's a point of view of cause and effect. This is how we must see it. Because if we had not abandoned their public schools, because we can go to private school, right? Because this is the Nigerian middle class psyche, and this is something that we really must end. If just as our ending SARS, we must end this, how would I put it? Our enabler mindset. Because the middle class of Nigeria enables the oppressors too much. There's nothing the oppressor does to the poor people of this country that doesn't come through the Nigerian middle class. We are the ones we are the conduit of oppression to the poor. So we are the bankers that launder their money. We are the police and army that brutalize them too. We are the professionals of this country. We are the ones we are the lecturers in university collecting bribe. and trying to rape girls for marks, their children that are poor, because no billionaire's child is in Nigeria, no rich man's child, no politician's child is in Nigerian university being harassed. You understand? So we are the ones, that we are the civil servants, for Christ's sake, that enable corruption in all the ministries and government parastatals. It is through us. We are the bulldozer drivers that come to their neighborhood to destroy their property when government say they want to use the land by force. When that kind of destruction of property is happening, you do not hear the middle class making a sound. Otoromagbe under Ambode, Takwa Bay under Uncle Sanwo-Olu, just recently, right? This is their own property, their livelihood. The artist village in Igomu, near National Theatre. Decades of artistic work destroyed in one day. That's property of people, but they are poor people, so that property doesn't matter. That destruction of property doesn't relate, right? Our properties are safe. Their roads are bad. Accident every day. People dying on the road like flies in Nigeria. Nobody does anything. We have our jeeps. There's no light in their neighborhood. We all buy gen. Their children can't go to school. Our children are going to private school. Their children can't go to university. Our children are going to private university or abroad. So as long as the oppressors give us some kind of leeway, we abandon them. We abandon their children dying in hospitals because our children can go to private hospitals.
All right, let's just take.
No, I'm coming. Let me just answer. I always say to people, like, private, it is now obvious through this what happened to a lot of middle class people and their little business that they've been gathering, that private education is not the solution to ignorance. Ignorance will now come to your front door even though your own children are in private school. Right? If it was your property that got burnt, you'll be talking like this. They've burnt my own house before. They burnt and killed our grandmother. Did you hear my father say for that reason he's withdrawing from the side of the people? Because except you genuinely put things over people. And that is the mindset of our oppressor. For over 350 years now, especially in this West African region, they have been the ones conniving with imperialists before they used to take us as slaves in exchange for things. Things! These people are mesmerized by things. Now, 2020 is our oil they are taking. Our future they are selling away. Even though they're not taking us physically, the best of our minds. They are making sure that there's no program in Nigeria to engage robotics engineers, nuclear scientists, chemical scientists, all these advanced jobs. They make sure that the talented Nigerians or Africans that have those ideas are shipped off to the West to work in their own countries, not for the benefit of African people. And what do they get in exchange for all of these things? People that are billionaires that cannot build anything.
We need to actually move further. So before we touch on Amnesty International, because we're going to have to breeze through that very quickly so that we can get into Trump versus Biden. Let's take this call. Lagos Talks. Good morning. Who's speaking?
Good morning. All
right. Welcome. Let's hear you very quickly, please.
Yeah, very quickly. I got you on your side.
I do.
So I'm so impressed, and I can't just stop praying for you. You are a wonderful person, and God will continue being with you.
Thank you.
The truth is, I've had these arguments with some of my friends, and I've tried to make them understand that these people that protested in their own way, as in the supposed hoodlums, why did we allow the government to push us into tagging them as hoodlums? These are Nigerians like us. They of course don't have the kind of exposure we have. That is why they feel that the way they can contribute to the protest is by going about and doing those wrong things. I honestly sympathize with those that lost their properties and all that, but then it takes somebody that understands what poverty means to relate to what those people did. It takes somebody that has suffered and knows that, okay, sometimes when you are desperate, you just want to do anything. You don't think. Do you understand? You just want to do anything. So I'm so happy for the way you've grown, and God will continue being with you and your family. You know, you've not been poor, but honestly, you have spoken and thought like somebody that was poor before becoming a middle class, so to say. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Calcutta was a poor community, egalitarian community, and even though my father was rich, he experienced everything poor people experience in this country because the government hated him. They tried to really make my family poor. I always say to people, they don't understand what Fela lost fighting for the people of this country. The day they burnt his house, Fela had 2 million naira cash on his bed in his room because he was planning a tour. He had gone to withdraw his money from the bank to buy tickets and plan his African tour. He had the money. 2 million naira in 1977 was about $4 million. Nobody ever paid him that money back. My dad was going to beg his friends for years to eat. I mean, people don't understand what it means to face Nigerian government.
All right, Seun, let's just move on very quickly, guys. Let's just touch on Amnesty International. And so, if you haven't heard this, there is a group called the Center for Africa Liberation and Socio-Economic Rights. It has accused and alleged, or rather, it has been accused and is alleged of being sponsored by the Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff. Now, these are allegations, like I mentioned. Now, this particular group has asked Amnesty International to leave Nigeria within 7 days. This group threatened to kill all Amnesty International workers and burn down their Lagos and Abuja offices if the organization refused to leave the country. One Princess Ajibola, who's the convener of this particular group, said this, and she said, and I quote, "For Nigeria to rebuild, Amnesty International must be out of the way. We therefore give Amnesty International a 7-day ultimatum to leave Nigeria. Its staffers will be treated the same way that innocent policemen lynched by mobs were treated."
Really?
And she had a few other things to say. So for those who are probably wondering what is going on, as we know, Amnesty International has been following this story and the incident that took place on the 20th of October with innocent peaceful protesters being attacked, being shot at, some even died. Now, we did get different narratives from the government, from the Nigerian military, but Amnesty International did a thorough investigation and pieced together different footages from when the military truck left the base in Boni Camp to when they actually got to that particular location, that is the Lekki VI toll. Now, they were able to come out with that publication, putting or shedding so much light as to what happened and the fact that people actually did die. Now, this group has seen this as a threat. The government has come out to say Amnesty International does not run Nigeria, so why are we taking their word for what it is? And then this group has come out to say they are a threat to our peace, saying that for Nigeria to rebuild, Amnesty International must be out of the way. Do you think?
No, is it okay to be giving violent threats now in Nigeria?
I was gonna ask, do you think that this is similar to a terrorist threat? Should it be treated as such?
No, it is not. I think this is a legitimate.
To threaten that they're going to kill the staff?
Not a legitimate act, but it's a legitimate threat against Amnesty International. You understand?
A threat of violence.
Yeah,
and death.
It's fact that they've threatened them, so it's a legal fact that they've been threatened right now. So what I'm surprised at is this: in a situation where we are being told that we cannot, violence of poor people. See what I'm saying about this country? We really need some soul searching. I'm telling you, people. I mean, end SARS, end oppression new. This Princess Ajibola now is allowed to say all these violent words and threaten people's lives. You can't hear government. Nobody has arrested her. It's over 24 hours that she's made such statements. No arrest, no anything, no deterrent, because Amnesty International is on the side of the protester. So they are now fair game. So if this woman is not arrested, what the government is saying basically is that Amnesty International workers are fair game. It is not about us. Is when statements are not validated until until the military follows this woman to Amnesty International or police people follow her. Because she sits down there and say innocent police people. Why? What about the innocent Nigerians that were killed? In Igomu, that they burned police station and attacked the police. The police killed people first now. Why don't people talk about this part? People say Lekki people shot at. Is it only Lekki police shot people? You see, it is this elitist narrative that is really destroying this country, that we cannot really, it is because of our elitism that we cannot really truly articulate our situation in this country. Because the moment we're trying to articulate it, we'll find ourselves in some certain way part of the problem and want to skip that part. That's why at the end of this protest now, there are two groups that have emerged. One group of elitists that are working in negotiating panel, doing everything with government, thinking that this government can still save us because they are benefiting from the status quo. And the second group are those that are saying we must change this thing completely. And guess the group everybody is listening to, the group that is working with the oppressor. You know, so you have a woman like this now. You know, so this is a military tactics. Anybody that knows, when you threaten an organization like this and their workers and their offices, if this was in America or in the UK or any country where, I'm not saying those countries are civilized, it's just that Amnesty International has good standing in these countries, you know. So if this were these countries, right, they would have arrested the woman and charged her to court because what she has done is illegal. But what this government is saying to people, to say to his supporters, just like Trump, is dog whistle politics. When Trump talks against the Mexicans, talks against the black people, talks against immigrants, he's not saying the police should go and do it. His supporters are now emboldened, knowing fully well the body language of the government, to go and perpetuate these acts. So what they've done now is made Amnesty International fair game to all APC supporters. That's all. So unless the government puts the same energy that is using to raid poor people all over Lagos that were violent or allegedly so against this woman too that made her own statement publicly like this, then we will know that, you know, as usual, Nigeria is still...
And there are people that believe, because of course, just with this threat, there's a division of opinions with people saying that it was politically motivated, and then there are people saying that these are just overzealous people who are looking for some sort of benefit from this current government. Do you think that it is outrightly politically motivated?
Whatever it is politically motivated. Whether it is supported by the government or not, this is not the point. What is the government doing against this lady? What are they doing about this? Because I'm surprised that it's only Amnesty International she's realizing is destroying Nigerian police.
Now, remember
because many international corporations are destroying Nigeria.
Indeed. Do you remember that they also did accuse this group of being supported by the chief of military staff?
Me, I don't care about all that one.
And they have actually come out. Let me give the response. They actually did come out, as they did at the beginning when the military was accused of shooting on armed protesters. What they did was to go on their official Twitter page to tag all the headlines as fake news. Now, this is the same thing that they've done with this accusation that they are supporting this particular group. They've tagged it as fake news.
The Nigerian military are having a laugh.
So do you think that this is going to be a play out of the exact same thing, where the military came out, said fake news, and then later on said, oh, our men were actually there?
I think, you know, we don't understand power also. This is a power game. The military know that we are powerless, and even our panel, they have to beg them to join the panel. They say they are coming. They first refuse. It's a power trip. The military response letting us know you have no power here. Then they now do whatever, you know. But their first response is always one of power, to show us their power. You know, and except we take power from these people, politically first at least.
Of course, politically, legitimately.
You know, I don't understand how we can continue these conversations over and over, knowing fully well that these people are not willing to change. I don't care whether the Nigerian military is supporting her. It's the Nigerian military that 1,000 of them left their barrack to come and destroy my father's house. And when they asked, they say they didn't know anybody. Exactly, they are not that kind of, they don't have the bravery to stand behind their action. They try to hide their atrocity in Odi. They try to hide their atrocity in Zakibian. This is the modus operandi of the Nigerian military. They are snakes. Crocodile. They are reptilian. The Nigerian military is reptilian in nature. It is not a lion. It's not a canine military. It's not a lion military. Just like I cannot go into Sambisa and destroy Boko Haram. No, it's reptilian in nature. It wants to deceive. It wants to curl. It wants to bite. It wants to bite and run. And that is their style. It wants to be a big snake swallowing a small rat.
All right, Seun, we need to just move on very quickly. Guys, you can join the conversation 015150913, 015151913, 0809-234-5913. Quickly, we're just going to move on to what's going on in the U.S. elections currently. This is going to be a historical elections this year with the number of people that have actually come out to vote. It is Trump versus Biden. Now, just taking a look at how it affects Africa and taking a look at how it affects Nigeria, we've seen diverse views on social media and across different platforms. A division of these views coming from Nigerians in the diaspora in the USA, Nigerians right here, talking about how or who they support to win and how it's going to affect Nigeria. Now, on one hand, we're taking a look at Biden, who of course was Obama's vice president, and people are making reference to what happened in Libya when Gaddafi was actually assassinated, and how more tumultuous, I would say, it became in Libya when we had looters, like we've been using in Nigerian terms, looters actually going into the weapon arsenal to steal or loot those weapons. And from different reports are saying that the insurgency that we're seeing in Nigeria and the terrorist groups that we're seeing in Nigeria are being supported by those weapons that were taken from the arsenal in Libya. And so people are saying now that actually did affect us.
And also supplied by the United States.
There you go. And so aside from even that happening, we did see with Obama in support of this particular president taking power at the time, and with this governance that people don't necessarily approve of, they are saying that they would rather Trump win, because if they do support Biden with what Obama did and how he had an influencer to speak on governance in Nigeria, and with what happened in Libya that indirectly affected us in Nigeria, they would rather Trump winning. Now, on the other hand, people do not want Trump to win because they believe he is a brazen, racist, calling Nigeria or calling Africa a poop hole country. So we have people that are supporting Biden, we have people that are supporting Trump. How does that affect Nigeria, Seun? If a Trump wins, how does it affect Nigeria? If a Biden wins, with what we see, with what we saw with Obama and how it affected Nigeria, how do you think it is going to affect Nigeria if Biden wins?
You see, whether Biden wins, whether Trump wins, white supremacy wins in America. Obama and the Democrats believe in exporting violence. Throughout Obama was dropping one bomb every 8 minutes on black and brown people. The amount of black and brown people Obama killed as president of America, hundreds of thousands. The atrocity he caused in Syria is still killing them there. Yemen has gone to over 3 million. You understand? Libya, our brothers dying in the sea, Boko Haram, and, so America is a country. The problem they have with Trump really is that he's bringing that violence home. You understand what I'm saying? Under Trump, Americans have been fighting with each other. They've not had the peace that exporting violence has given them. So for me, it's important that African people are engaged in American politics. In fact, I will go as far as to say that if America was a fair country to open his elections to the world, because America interferes with the world. As me and you are sitting down here right now, America is affecting our currency, our education, our food. They are involved in everything every nation is doing, except those nations that have broken away from their grasp that they hate, like Syria, like Iraq, like Iran, Syria, Russia, China, Venezuela. These countries that have, to the pain, for whatever pain it might cause, have broken away from that control to take their own destiny, by the scruff of the neck. We have to applaud those nations, no matter how they paint them in the news. But we that were still trapped, in this American, I don't know what to call it, show. I think it is important that we understand that fascism is what rules America. The world has fought a world war against fascists. Don't we now realize or ask ourselves the question, why is fascism and Nazism still legal in this world? How can people be openly fascist, but you cannot be open Islamist? Any extreme Islamist, they go and bomb, they go and destroy, because that one is brown mentality. Any Pan-Africanist, they go and destroy. But they allow their own extremists to thrive, to even make it to president. Not only in America, go to Austria, go to England. Right now, is ruled by Boris Johnson. An open racist fascist. Because people don't understand that fascism is the economic interpretation of racism. A nation that wants to now also use racial bias to determine its economics openly. So for me, Trump wins, Biden wins, fascism still wins in America. Biden is not going to go there and say no more military industrial complex. No more bombing of third world countries, no more interfering in third world country politics. No more subverting their currency or their markets. No more reducing the price of their resources. He's not going to go in there and say that. So this is how we as motherland people must always view American politics or presidents. To our interest, how has this thing been? Or to the interest of global peace, how has this thing been? For me, I don't like Trump. I've always hated Trump. It is important that we know that that many of our great black musicians that we look up to, me when I was growing up in Nigeria in the 90s, it's through rap music that I knew who Trump was. From Puff Daddy to Jay-Z to everybody, Method Man, they were all Trump's friends. So didn't Trump use racist words then? Didn't they know it was? I don't understand. There's so many things that affect us here that also, manifest itself in our cousins across the pond. Because this elitism that I talk about that is destroying us here is what is destroying African Americans over there too.
So, since we know that either or it's still going to affect Nigeria, like you mentioned, America does interfere in governance in other parts of the world. Is it going to ever be possible for Nigeria to break away from that influence, that Western influence?
Oh, of course.
It comes to
definitely, I think all we need is the will of the people to demand that. For the will of the people to demand that, there must be some kind of awakening. And it has started. We are now fighting our down pressors. As I always say, I tell you that the elites, both business and political in Nigeria, they're not really oppressors. They've not done the work that they really need. They've not developed. They have developed this nation now. That this was the developed nation. That they were not taking advantage of us. And I'll say they are oppressors. No, they are down pressors because they keep their nation down. They are down pressors. They've not built anything up. They just tear everything down for their own benefits.
All right, let's take some calls before we wrap this up because we have just 2 minutes left. Lagos Talks.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. Who's speaking, please?
Morning, Ify. Good morning to Seun.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm using my radio, so we are having this kind of debate. What Seun is discussing there is politics, which is great. I don't think that some of the youths understand this. And when you have fascism, we are descending into fascism in Nigeria, the government. It means that they have learned the art of fascism from the Western world. Look at what happened to Mandela. If you read Mandela's long walk to freedom, you will see that Mandela himself faced some of the niche problems and the challenges that the youth and some of us have faced in the past. And so it is not a sprint that we're dealing with here. We're dealing with, a marathon. So as soon as you start this, you know that you have to talk less, especially, publicly, and then be able to strategize, to be able to come to the table and then let us begin this game. And this is how to get there.
All right, Lagos Talks.
Hello?
Hi, good morning. Who's speaking?
Good morning, Mr. Seun. How are you on the line? Good morning.
Hey, Buka, I said you don't call me today.
I appreciate the fact that I'm not supporter of that 20%. I appreciate what you're saying. You see, these are countries. We need the truth. I don't need to say something. I love that man. He just said it the way it is. Truth is like pure water, pure white cloth. Thank you very much. Okay, we are talking about investigation. It clearly shows that this government, they don't want to come to our farms. They don't want to come to appreciate the masses they called us. Because if you are talking about investigation in this country, what about those laws that were used, land cruiser?
All right, Debuka, we have to let you go now. Lagos Talks, good afternoon. Who's speaking? Very quickly.
Hello, my name is Isaac.
All right, Isaac, let's hear you.
From Lekki.
All right, let's hear you quickly.
Sorry, I want to talk about this US election and probably comment on what is happening in Nigeria right now.
You have just a few seconds left.
Sorry, about the US election.
Yeah, go on.
Well, according to what we are seeing here, Joe Biden will win the election, but it's not even good for Nigeria and the world at large. Because when you look at the Obama time, he's the vice president and the terrorists is all over the world. I see Iran, Syria, everywhere.
All right, thank you very much. We would have to cut you off there. I do apologize. It's 1 minute past 12. We need to wrap this up because the world news is coming up right now. Seun, as always, it's a pleasure learning from you, hearing from you. Thank you so much for coming in today. Before saying goodbye.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show again. I think Lagos is warming up to us more and more.
Oh, definitely.
And we thank Lagos for that. Right. It's time for the news.
All right, guys. Remember, the midday show doesn't end here. There's still more amazing content coming your way, so stick around.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.